What is old anyway? Well, there are ways we can kind of determine what is old. And number one is just experience. Many of you have actually started selling pre-owned items when you started this group. You may not feel like you have the experience yet to know what is old. You do, some, but as you do this more, your spider sense will tingle whenever you look at something and you go, yeah, this is probably not just fresh out of Walmart from last week, just some generic item. A lot of times you can tell by high quality if something might be older. Not always, because there are new items or new glassware, expensive crystal glassware still made today that is very high quality, but quality often will determine, because in our society, in our world, cheaper items sell a lot more. The majority of items that sell on eBay sell for under $20, which is kind of a hint. If you're going to price something at $21, try to price it at $19.95, because there's something mental about that when it comes to things selling on eBay today. If you want $24.95, if you want $22.95, price it at that. That's fine. But I'm just saying, if you have some room, go ahead and just initially price it at $19.95. Just the odds are a little bit more in your favor that it will sell sooner than it would at $21.95, just because of this phenomenon of how many items sell for under $20. Now, it's nice to know if you have something old, vintage, or old when you're outsourcing. I recently came across this plate, and I need to warn you right now before I show you this. This is not my listing, okay? I didn't do this. I would never do this. I'm not a hypocrite when it comes to creating eBay listings. I practice what I preach. You should practice what I preach too when it comes to eBay listings. I ran across this plate, I picked it up, and here's the back. Anyway, I picked it up and I was just looking through a bunch of plates, and I don't know why, something about it, it's just a little plate. I think it's about 8 inches wide. And something about it just thought I should look at the back of this. Most of these types of things I don't really look at. I'm just looking through a bunch of stuff at a garage sale in hopes of finding something worth some money. And these little plates, Disney, Toy Story, there millions of these were made, and all sorts of designs and everything. I don't know if millions of this kind was made. I don't know that they weren't. But I'm just saying that so many things like this, kids' little cheap plastic things, but something about this plate just seemed to be not something recent, seemed to be kind of vintage. Maybe it was kind of the colors kind of glared a little bit, maybe a tad bit of color fading, not enough to even mention in the listing, but just something about it seemed like I should find out. Oh, and it was a dime. Okay, it was 10 cents. So it was free. Now, if it would only sell for $2.99, I'm not going to buy it for a dime. It's not worth my time. But if it would bring $12.49, I'd do that. If it would bring $9.99, I would do that. I mean, it's cheap. It's lightweight. Probably, let me see how much it weighs. Weighs 3.4 ounces. It's going to ship for under the 8-ounce rate. I could put it in a bubble mailer, I'm sure, and it'd get there just fine. And it would sell for the second lowest rate. Just put it in a bubble mailer and ship it. It's not a big deal. I think it's melamine. Is that the way you pronounce it? Melamine? I don't know, but I know what I'm talking about. Special plastic. Maybe it is. I don't know. Okay, now, this sort of bugged me that I didn't know how to pronounce this word. So I went to Google, and you can do this, pronounce melamine or melamine or melamine or something, but pronounce it. I knew how to spell it because I've used it before in many listings. And all you have to do is click on the speaker and it tells you.
Melamine.
Melamine. Okay. Therefore, melamine plastic, and that's what it was. And melamine is better than it not being melamine much of the time. When it comes to just cheap plastic, melamine is a step a little bit above cheap plastic. It's still pretty cheap, and there are many mid-century pieces that are made out of melamine. So it's something to keep your eye out for and to know what it is. So what was the deal? What did I do to see when this was made? Now, this thing could have been reissued 15 times. It could have been released in 1995, and then it could have been released 4 times after that, all the way through 2016, 2018, 2020. And I guarantee if you have a 2021 of these, it's just not worth anything. So how did I know to buy this thing for a dime and it would probably sell for $9 to $12? Well, I looked at the back and saw where it was made. It was not made in China. Was not made in China. That almost always means it was made before the year 2000. Turns out this was made in Taiwan. Great. Now, that's not as good as being made exclusively in the USA like everything used to be that America sold, but great. It's better than China because that means it's older than something that says made in China. Were things ever made in China before the year 2000? Of course. But these cheap little knockoff types of items, anytime you see one of these, if it's made in China, it still might be valuable. You still might want to do comps. If it's a 2004, 2003 Starbucks mug made in China, it doesn't matter that it was made in China. It's probably worth some money. But made in China is not always bad when it comes to reselling, but it is a big clue as to the dating of the item. And I knew that this had to be made before the year 2000. China made things leading up to the year 2000. So 97, 98, you started seeing more and more items made in China, but in general, the floodgates opened about the year 2000. If you see something made in Hong Kong, If you know where Hong Kong is, by the way, it's well, it used to be a wonderful place. I don't know if it still is anymore, but Hong Kong is in China, okay? China runs Hong Kong. Now, when I was there twice, the Brits still owned it. They still ran it. It was still British. And it was wonderful. It's wonderful. It's the largest free market on earth. Well, it was before China took it back. So I don't know anymore. And I haven't been there. I have been to China. If you have any enemies, tell them China is a great place to go. It's a horrible place to go. If you only stick to the big city and the tourist spots in the big cities, okay, they've cleaned those up. They've made those phony China. But China is just horrible if you travel a lot. And I've traveled a lot in China. It's a terrible place. The thing that makes a country bad is bad government and bad religion. And they've got both, bad government and bad religion. But back to Hong Kong. This was not made in Hong Kong. But if something says made in Hong Kong, that is not China. It is not. It means that it was made before China took back Hong Kong from the Brits. The Brits made a terrible mistake. There's no doubt Hong Kong is worse off. It may still be an okay place. They may have left their hands off Hong Kong mostly because it's such a, moneymaker for their nation, for China. But anyway, if it was made in Hong Kong, and if it says made in Hong Kong, it is not Chinese. It is not. It was when the Brits had it. And that means before, and I'm pretty sure in the year 2000, is when China took Hong Kong back. So if you see something made in Hong Kong, it's vintage. It is. If it says Hong Kong, China, it's not vintage, but it won't ever say that. It'll just say made in China if it's made anywhere in China. This happened to not be made in Hong Kong. It was made in Taiwan. Okay, made in Taiwan? Great. Almost for sure that means vintage. Does Taiwan make things today? Yes. Does Taiwan make millions and millions and millions and millions of cheap garbage? Good grief. I don't know why that's there. We'll go back. As I said, this is not my listing. Good grief. What are they doing? Now there's a pin. Wow. This is a button. Probably all of you saw this as a button. Probably every one of you. What's he talking about? That's not a plate. Yeah, I see that now. Sorry. I just matched the picture to the plate that I have and thought that's what it was. But anyway, so act like this is a plate, okay? Okay. Stop making fun of me for that incredibly big mistake. This was made in Taiwan. Therefore, I knew it's probably worth doing a picture of. I could look it up and type Toy Story, plate, Thailand, but there's going to be several that I find on eBay. So I just took a Google Lens picture. They're at the garage, so you know how it is. It's fast, easy, and sure enough, it came up with a bunch of eBay sales of $9 to maybe $11. Maybe $8 to $11. And great, that was good enough for me. The thing cost a dime, therefore it is free, right? It is free. What if I got it home and I'd made a mistake and it wasn't worth selling? It was free. What's a dime? It's nothing. It's free. It's not even large enough to be a rounding error in our business. It's nothing. Sure, it's a dime. I'll take it. Now, if it was 2014, I wouldn't have bought it for a dime because it's not going to be worth selling. It's going to be worth $2.99. I don't care if it's free. I'm not going to mess with selling it. Therefore, just looking at the word Taiwan, I bought it. Now, if I did not want to look it up at that point, I still would have taken it for a dime. A dime, not in China, cheap, plastic, but melamine. Plastic, a toy store, hugely popular. Disney, hugely popular. I have two keywords right there. Disney, Toy Story, okay? Kids, plate, and all the other things I'll put in the listing. Buzz Lightyear. I assume isn't that Buzz Lightyear? I don't remember. But anyway, I'm not a Disney fan. Many things Disney do, I'm not a fan of, although their Marvel movies are great. Okay, that's why I went ahead and did the Google Lens, and sure enough, I found several listings above $8, so I bought it. But I didn't really have to do that. It's made in Taiwan. It's going to be vintage. I'm sure I could make it worth selling. And it's the fact that it's not breakable. It's going to ship real cheap, not fragile. Of course, I'm going to buy it. I went ahead and looked it up with Google Lens, but I didn't have to. I mean, in my mind, I was buying it for a dime, which means they were giving it to me for a dime because it's made in Thailand. Now, if you find something like this, some toy, something, there's that. I don't know why it changes just because I move over the listing somehow. It's just I'm not pushing buttons or anything. It's just changing pictures. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, I know. So if it was made in America and it was some cheap little toy like this, it would be more vintage, almost for sure. Not always, almost for sure. So all you really need to do, if something's not very expensive at a sale of some kind and it's not made in China, the closer it is to made in the USA, even better. If it's made in the United Kingdom, great. If it's made in an Asian country that's not China, real good. Not as great as, in a westernized country, but great. And if it's made in China, least great. Still might be money, but on the China thing, you're going to have to do comps. You're going to have to look it up. And the harder it is to ship, the more fragile it is. You're going to have to look it up. So we now know what is old. All we have to do. There's a law that says anything made outside the United States has to be marked where it was made. So you'll always be able to see where it was made. You may have to take your jewelry loop to see it on some tiny, tiny items, but it will say made wherever it was made if it's a fairly recent item, even if it's vintage. This is how you can speed up your sourcing. You don't have to comp everything. If it's cheap enough and if it's definitely vintage, and it has some appeal, and you can get a good keyword or two. Walt Disney, Toy Story, Buzz Lightyear, Woody. I'm buying it because it's a zero risk. And the worst case, who cares? The worst case is, yeah, this is worth Zippo. I'm not messing with this to sell for 99 cents, and I toss it in the trash or give it to some neighborhood kid or donate it back to donate it to Salvation Army or something. I mean, that's the worst case. Who cares? That's a very fast way, one way to tell if something is actually vintage or not. And it's great because China took over everything and started everything about the year 2000 in big time. Not only did they take over Hong Kong, but that's when they really took over manufacturing for the world, about that, in that time frame, in those 2 or 3 years right there. And so it's a guaranteed vintage if it's not made in China, almost always.